Let's talk about how you can read more books. I used to read 300 books a year, but I've also been on the other end of it where I read 0 books a year. I went to Oxford University and the reading for English literature was so demanding that when I graduated, I didn't want to see another book for the rest of my life. I went a whole year without picking up a book, and I had to train myself to get into the habit and rekindle a lost love, the lost love of reading. So I think that I can present you a few tips. Some of them are kind of common sense, some of them are kind of controversial, some of them a bit different, but you'll definitely find something here in this video, or at least I'm hoping, that will get you reading more, reading the kind of books that you want to read, that you want to challenge yourself with, and having a great time and building up your brain and all that good stuff. Because to be honest with you, one of the greatest pleasures in life, along with going into nature, along with falling in love, along with appreciating good music and good food and good wine, is reading. So if you want to get into that, you want to exploit one of the greatest things about being a human, then stick around and let's find out how. I've got around 15 tips and they're not in any particular order, they're just random, so see which one appeals to you, maybe all of them, and combine them. Let's start with the first tip. The first tip I want to give you to help you to start reading more books is to buddy up. Most people think that reading is a solitary activity, and yes, it can be a solitary activity, and it's one of the best solitary activities you can do. Sometimes it's really nice to take a book and just unwind, go somewhere quiet, and be alone and have some thoughtful attention by yourself. But really, even when you're reading a book, you're never truly alone, because what you're actually doing is you're conversing with an author. If it's a philosophical book, this is somebody who is providing you with some food for thought, and they're expecting you to kind of argue with them and tug back and have a conversation and think about it. Or if somebody's telling you a story, you basically got someone sitting on the other end of a table creating a world for you. So you're never truly alone when you read a book, but I think one of the greatest pleasures about reading is sharing it. They say that the best things in life are worth sharing. Well, reading is one of those things, and my reading took off, and I enjoyed reading a lot more when I started getting people in my life involved in reading. That's why I do this channel, that's why I put out articles about reading, that's why I have a newsletter on reading and reading recommendations, and that's why I specifically started Hardcore Literature, because I wanted to scale my reading and I wanted to contact more people and get people excited and have a bit of a book club, because you get so much more out of a book when you can converse with another person. So try to get yourself a book buddy in some capacity. I have a friend who I said to him, I said, look, whatever book you recommend, I'll buy it without any hesitation. You just tell me and I'll read it. And he does the same for me. If we recommend a book to the other person, it is a pre-approval. It's like saying, hey, you're going to like this, or I want you to read this because maybe you won't like it, maybe you hate it, but you'll get something out of it. It is a pre-approved experience, vetted, ready for you to go. So I've got a friend like that, and what ends up happening is we start reading the same books and then we converse about it, and we have these long voice notes and we converse across time. We write emails, write letters, write big reviews, and he always has nuance and things that I didn't think about. We're reading the same book, but he'll say something and I'll go, wow, I didn't think about that. And he'll do the same. And another thing I do is I share my books with my girlfriend. We actually buy 2 copies of the same book because she'll just steal it when I want to read it. So we do that. And not only have we done that, but we recently got these gorgeous bookmarks, these absolutely beautiful bookmarks. And what we'll do is if we don't have 2 copies of the same book, because unless you're buying secondhand, yeah, that can get a bit pricey, we'll have 2 bookmarks. So we're at different positions and we can see where the other is in the book. And if we're roughly within, a stone's throw of each other, then we know what we can talk about, without spoiling. So we're reading The Alienist at the moment, and this is what the bookmark looks like. Gorgeous. It's the same thing with family members. If a family member asks me to read a book or recommends a book, I'll pick it up purely just because I want to talk to them about it. Now, often in our daily life, we talk about things that just enrage us. We talk about politics and the media and the state of the world, and the world is crazy right now, but it doesn't make you feel too good. It's only when you shift the conversation and you start talking about art, books, music, theatre, like the love of this stuff, this good stuff, that's where relationships are strengthened on a common love, a common artistic love. My next tip is to make a page commitment. Some people see these big books like Anna Karenina, War and Peace, Moby Dick, and they think I'll never get through that. But the secret to getting through big books, or getting through any book really, is to break it all down into manageable chunks. Everybody can read, almost everybody can read, 10 pages a day. If that sounds too much, well, break it down. Can you read 3 pages in the morning before work? Can you get up a little bit earlier and just get 3 pages? That's pretty simple. Can you read 3 pages on your lunch break? Again, that won't even take up your whole lunch break. That's just a portion of it. Can you read 3 or 4 before bed? Most people can. These are manageable chunks. So if you have a goal, even a big goal that sounds out of your reach, like I want to read Anna Karenina in a month, you can do it, because that is really basically just 30 pages a day. In addition to a page commitment, my next tip is to block time off. actually have dedicated reading time. Now, plenty of people seem to have a lot of screen time. There was a study that showed that people spend 4 hours a day just looking at their phone. That's not doing productive stuff, that's just like literally scrolling. And before the screen dominated our lives, it was TV, and people wasted, you guessed it, around 4 hours. On the weekend, it's obviously a lot more. Now, I'm not saying you have to completely replace all your screen time and never watch TV. TV can be really enjoyable. There's some great stuff, some great series now on Netflix, Amazon Prime and stuff like that everybody wants to talk about. But you can take a portion of that and assign that to reading. So if you're going to watch TV for an hour or two, could you take 20 minutes and just say, no, we're putting the TV off, or I'm putting headphones on, I'm blocking off, and I'm going into my book world. You'd be surprised what happens if you block off time. And obviously the longer you block off, the more you get done, because you get into a rhythm, you get momentum, you pick up speed, and the pages fly by. So you could have a lazy Sunday morning, and you could have a coffee, you could stay in bed, maybe you could go out or go for a walk, bring your book with you, and if you say, I'm going to read 20 pages in one sitting, you'll find if you picked a good book and you're really enjoying it, you might get to page 20 and go, whoa, that went quick, or you won't even realize that you've eclipsed your goal. So make a time goal, set time aside, and always put aside a little less than you think you'll be able to achieve, so you're not stressing yourself out. If you think that you could do an hour a day, that's actually quite ambitious. Why don't you say to yourself 20, 30 minutes minimum? And then some days will be better than others. Some days you'll be able to do a full hour. Some days you might only have time for 5 minutes, but you get it in anyway. And just set up a little commitment to yourself. You could start the habit of reading by putting it into your morning routine or your evening wind down routine, and anchor it to habits that you already have. For me, I had the habit of foam rolling, stretching every evening before bed because it relaxes me. What am I doing on the foam roller? Usually I put the TV on. Well, can I read a book while I'm doing it? Yeah, I can. So now I have the best evening because I'm unwinding, it's very quiet, it's very calm, and the sun is going down, and I'm just rolling out my muscles and I'm reading a book. It's fabulous. I love it. Another tip is to train yourself to read in snippets of time, because it's great to block off time, but sometimes we're too optimistic about how much time we can really block off. Realistically, we have 5 minutes here and there all throughout the day. Queuing for a store, queuing for a coffee, especially in these COVID-19 times, we're doing a lot more queuing than we did before because everything's socially distanced. Can you bring a book with you? It used to be that if you had a book sticking out your back pocket or cradled under your arm, that was a conversation starter. And I remember 10 years ago, 5 years ago even, I'd go and I'd see people and they'd have their book like on a counter if they were working as a waiter or waitress, or they'd have it sticking out, and I started so many conversations with people because either I knew the book or I was interested and curious, or what's that book about, and immediately you got someone to talk to. So that's a bonus as well. But even if people don't pick up on it, because people don't as much these days, you can fill those snippets of time, those blocks where you're not doing anything, with something quite enjoyable. And you'll notice that your queuing time gets reduced in your mind, because time is relative. It gets reduced in your mind because you're being told a story or you're thinking about something interesting. So bring a book with you. If you don't like bringing a book with you because it's too heavy or whatever, get yourself a Kindle. They're very, very light. I got my recommended Kindle in the link below, or you could just get the Kindle app on your phone. Boom. Everything is really easy these days. My next tip is something that a lot of people won't like, but it's to annotate. I have a specific video about how I recommend people annotate, how I annotate. I'll put the link in the description below so you can check that out. But get used to dirtying your books, because if you are covering your book in pen and you're writing stuff in the margin and you're underlining stuff and circling stuff and dog-earing it, okay, so you're not going to keep the book really pristine, but the sacrifice is a good one to make because you're suddenly more active, you're more aware, you're more engaged, and we are much more rewarded. The reward circuits in our brain as humans, the pleasure chemicals, serotonin, dopamine, they are firing a lot more when we're switched on engaged. Now, the bad thing about TV is we're often really passive, so people don't like it when people talk, when there's a show on. They pause it, oh, you finished talking yet, you finished talking yet? No, great, people should be talking. Like a TV show, if it's an hour, should actually take you an hour and a half to get through, because the more discussion, the more engaged you are. So TV's not inherently bad, it's just bad if you're vegetating, because that's not active recovery, it's just making you worse. And books can be like that as well. Books, you can really let yourself go a little bit and not challenge yourself. Get involved, cover the book in pen. Now, I'm only saying this if it's like a paperback that you don't particularly care about. I have some gorgeous copies. You can see I've got the Everyman edition of War and Peace here by Tolstoy. I would not dream of annotating this. So obviously use your own discretion. Don't ink up things that you'd be devastated to ink up. Like if you've got a first edition signed by Ernest Hemingway, Old Man and Sea, you won't be inking that up. But if you've got a book you don't really care about, get involved, cover it in ink, and make it your book. It becomes your book when you do that. Another thing you should do is do a TBR. Every single month, I do a monthly TBR. You can go onto benjaminmcavoy.com, you can see some in the links below, and I'll do a video or I'll do a post and I'll tell you my TBR. What's a TBR? That's a to be read list. Basically, at the beginning of the month, you make a list of all the books that you like to read. It's up to you. If you get stressed out because you put too many and you don't think you can achieve it, err on the side of putting less than you think you could achieve. So if you think you could do, I don't know, a book a week, maybe just pick out 2 books, half it, that you'd really like. Or if you're like me and you can never have enough books and you get excited, double it, triple it, who cares? Just make a list of the things you'd love to check out and get excited. Have some time, maybe once a month on a nice Sunday, where you do some browsing. You can sign up to my newsletter and get recommendations. You can subscribe to this channel, wink wink, or subscribe to Hardcore Literature and you'll get great recommendations all the time. This basically feeds into my next 2 tips, and that is to get excited. Now, I don't know about you, but actually seeing and thinking about what I'm going to read and having a plan gets me excited, and talking about it with people, like, I'm going to read this month, have you read it? That gets me really excited, and the more excited you are about something, the more likely you are to do. And that obviously feeds into my next tip, which is have a plan. Have a reading plan. Again, I've got a guide about how to construct a reading plan that's for you, but you shouldn't really read books just willy-nilly, like, oh, flavour of the month, Richard and Judy's book club recommended this, so I'll get this one. Have a think. So the books you pick will probably be different from the books I pick. I pick a lot of plays because I want to be a playwright, so I want to study the craft. But maybe you're an engineer or a mechanic, or maybe you're into a very specific niche of something, cooking or something like that. I don't know. Maybe you like a specific genre. Whatever your life looks like, whatever you look like as a unique individual, fit your reading around that to enhance you as a human. People often say that, oh, are audiobooks reading? Audiobooks are reading, and if you haven't tried out Audible, it's awesome, and you can get some free credits by clicking the Audible link in the description. Audible's amazing, and it is reading, and you shouldn't shy away from that just because someone tells you audiobooks don't count. Well, you might be someone who loves to take long hikes in nature, or you might be someone who has a really long commute to work. It would be beneficial for you to get audiobooks. You shouldn't then stress about not reading what other people say you should read. Now, this is why I don't like a lot of critics. I'm quite a fan of Harold Bloom, who passed away recently. But I don't like the fact that he designated certain books like Stephen King and J.K. Rowling's books as slop. This is where I disagree with him. I think it is good to read that which engages you. Now, as long as you're not being lazy, challenge yourself a little bit, that's good. But it's better to read something than nothing, and it's better to make it super personal and tailored to you. Which ties into my next tip, which is to have a reason. Once you've got a plan, or maybe before you have a plan, have a reason for your reading. Why are you reading it? I have reasons for everything that I read, and some of them are really personal and some of them I'm quite public about. But come up with your reason, because people who have a reason, a why for doing things, are more likely to do them and build the habit. So when things get tough and you have a bad day and you're tired and you don't really feel like reading, it's easier to just pick up the book anyway and get into it because you have a why that you've established. Now, my next tip is to challenge yourself, but don't mistake me for saying that you should be a snob. I don't think that they are the same thing. Challenging yourself can be anything. I'll just run you through some of my book reading challenges that I'm doing this year. I'm trying to read the complete works of Shakespeare chronologically in a year. Whoa, that sounds crazy, right? But I've actually read the complete works of Shakespeare before. I read it at university. It was a whole module. Took about a year. Shakespeare, depending on who you talk to, has maybe 36, 37 plays and a few other works. So really, if you do one a week, you'll read his stuff in under a year. But I chose chronologically because I want to see his development as a writer. I thought that would be really exciting. Now, that's a goal that excites me. It might not excite everybody else, but it excites me enough to keep doing it, and not only do it, but make content about it and talk about it and try to get a conversation about it. I'm also, again, this is why I want to emphasize, don't be a snob. I'm reading Stephen King chronologically, starting with Carrie, Salem's Lot, and I'm going through that because I enjoy Stephen King as a writer. He's a lot of fun and he can teach me a lot about the craft, and he's entertaining. Now if you are a fantasy fan, you might go, oh, I want to read the entire Discworld series. That's Terry Pratchett. Or maybe you've read a bit of fantasy before, you don't know what to go into next, but people talk about Discworld and it kind of hits a sensibility that you like, Douglas Adams sort of funniness and stuff like that. So you might go, right, I'll do the Discworld challenge. Or maybe you like mysteries, so you decide, hey, I'm going to read Agatha Christie. I'm going to read everything an author put out. Or it doesn't have to be like that. Another challenge would be the Bradbury Trio. Again, I've got more information on that if you want to go check out the link to the video in the article below. But the Bradbury Trio basically means every day before bed, you read one short story, one essay, and one poem. I did this for 1,000 nights, and my head was full of stuff. I felt really creative, and it made me really happy. I got a lot read. What's another challenge you could do? There's a really popular challenge, and a lady did a TED talk about this. A year of reading the world. She went through A to Z, went through all the countries, and read a book from each and every one. And she had a bit of an epic quest as she tried to source books from countries that have more of an oral tradition, don't really have publishing stuff, or definitely don't have English translations. What a lot of fun, and what a way of opening your eyes to the world. Try that would be fun. I did something similar as well. I like to read at least 10 books, kind of at random, from different countries each year. You could also do something that I've started doing, which is I'm trying to find out whether this 1001 books you must read before you die is actually legit. So what I've done is I do a random spinner, and whatever the book it lands on, whatever the page, I'll just read it at random. I'll pick it up and I won't know anything about the book, and I'll read it. So I'm currently reading a Nobel Prize winner's work, and it's really interesting. So I'm looking forward to the next spin. That's a challenge as well. These sound like really big challenges, but you can break it down. Like you could say, yo, I want to read War and Peace this year. Okay, cool. Read a chapter a day. Do you know the War and Peace chapters are actually really short? And if you read a chapter a day, that'll take you very, very far. Me, I had another challenge in, I want to read the biggies. So, War and Peace, Anna Karenina, Les Miserables, Atlas Shrugged, Crime and Punishment, The Brothers Karamazov, all these biggies, the ones where people always say they want to read it one day, but they never get around to it. And when lockdown happened, I thought, right, there is not a more perfect time than now. So I got into it and started doing it. Again as well, don't worry if your challenges don't sound too ambitious. Mine sound crazy ambitious, but that's because I really love reading, and I got here over many, many years. I wasn't doing this kind of crazy level of reading even half a decade ago. It's something I built up to, so it's all tailored to you and what gets you excited and what fits into your life, okay? And what you can do as well, you could follow a syllabus, or you can find a guide. Like I said, I've got a channel called Hardcore Literature, and I'm working hard behind the scenes on some really cool projects to do with Shakespeare. So if you're feeling like challenging yourself and reading everything the Bard put out, I'll have something to help you with that. Maybe you like Dickens. We've got some cool stuff on Dickens coming. Hardcore Literature is in its infancy right now, but we do have some podcasts and we have some videos and different things, and it's going to take off and it's going to be really interesting. So get involved if you don't know what to read. The latest podcast was talking about The Silence of the Lambs. The one before that was talking about Aristotle's Ethics. There's something for everybody. And I really like, and I have utilized this before, a sort of just tell me what to read approach. Find someone you respect whose reading tastes seem relatively aligned to yours, or reading tastes that seem like they might challenge yours. They don't have to be mine, they can be somebody else. There's plenty of people who give great book recommendations online. And just do what they say, pick up what they read. That's the benefit of a book club, and I'm trying to get a book club going, and I'm going to have a sort of a book club. Definitely there'll be a book club that's sort of centered around Shakespeare, but we're going to do another one as well, and I'm going to try and cap it at maybe 10 to 15 people. So we'll do like a monthly meet up and we'll exchange ideas, and it'll be really cool. A meet up in a sort of online Zoom, Google Hangout fashion, but that's really cool because if you're part of a book club, you've got the built-in social accountability, and you know that you're going to talk to people about it and exchange ideas, and you're also kind of just directed. This week we're going to read chapters 3 to 7. Like, brilliant, it's taken care of. You don't have to think too much about what to read. I love that approach. Now, another thing you can do is to keep a book journal. Let me show you some of my book journals. We've got them up here. They're gorgeous. Now, a lot of people like the Moleskine or the Moleskine variety. I actually prefer a variety called Leuchtturm 1997, I think it is. I can't remember exactly, but they're beautiful. The paper quality is exceptional. The binding is absolutely exceptional. It's just a beautiful object to hold and handle and to write in. And I put a lot of my thoughts in here very lovingly. And not only that, but in the process of keeping a book journal, I'm kind of capturing my thoughts in a moment of time. I'm creating my own book, and there's a real pleasure. I won't be showing you what's inside, but there's a real pleasure to looking back many years on your journals and reading through. It's sensational. That leads into my next tip. Review the stuff you do. Now, it doesn't have to be a very long book review. People think of book reviews and they think of school, like, oh, it's boring, I have to follow rules. There's no rules. A review can be however you want it. You can tie it into movies you've seen, conversations you've seen, make it real, make it applicable, make it practical, make it just relevant. It doesn't have to be literary and academic and highfalutin and pretentious. No, it can be anything you want. It could be 3 bullet points it could be collecting quotes from a book. It can be doing what I do, turn on the camera, start recording, and whether you show show people or not is one thing. Your book review could be a voice note to a friend who's reading the same book, or a friend who's not reading the same book. You could create an accountability group where you're all reading books and you're dropping your voice notes. Does it matter if anyone listens? Not really. Or you could start a blog and you could get a real blog like WordPress, or you could start a free blog, whatever, and just type up your thoughts. Or just write them in a notebook and or write them on a Word document. Or you could start a podcast, which is what I did. Reviewing gives you a reason to stay attentive when you're reading the book, and it keeps you ready, looking, picking stuff out that you can then talk about, interesting things. And then not only that, but reviewing improves retention. I tell you, the books that I've reviewed, my favourite ones like Man's Search for Meaning, The Prophet, they are books that after the review, whole chunks of the book are now stuck in my mind. I cannot get them out of my mind, and I have a bad memory. I am famous for having a bad memory. I don't remember anything, but when I review a book, that book is mine and it's downloaded in my brain forever. So try to review as well, because it's part of the fun. The next step is that there are no rules. Forget everything I've just told you, come up with your own rules. It's all about directing your own life. You are the director of your reading and what you're thinking. There are no rules. Do it however you like. Which feeds into my next tip, which is to make it part of your life. And what I mean by that is just say you have a date with your partner. Well, could you go to the bookstore? I love going to the bookstore as a date. We wander around, we separate, we come back, we talk about the books we found. Maybe if we're feeling particularly generous, I'll buy you one, you buy me one, I'll pick one for you. We say, oh, this book, oh no, not this book. It is really relaxing and it's thought-provoking, and it's a nice way to bond and make books part of your life. And when people ask you like what gifts you want for Christmas and birthdays, well, why don't you ask them for books? Because sometimes books can be expensive, and if somebody's offering to buy you a gift, you can say, well, tell you what, there's this book. And like some of my favorite books have been gifted to me. I've made it known that I would like a particular book, but I'm not going to get it at this time. And so I've been gifted it, and I treasure it so much. So make books part of your life. That's a strong tip, okay? So those are my tips about how to get you reading more. I hope they're helpful, but just remember that the journey of 1,000 steps begins with a single step, and it's the same with books. The journey of 1,000 books begins with a single book. So let me know in the comments below, what book are you going to start with? What's the next book you're going to read? I'm really interested to know, so please let me know. And if you found the video useful, please hit the like button and subscribe for more content. Specifically, subscribe to the channel Hardcore Literature if you want book reviews. Now, if you don't know what book you're going to read next, check out the link below and I'll give you 3 options, 3 secret mystery options. We have a beginner option, we have an intermediate option, and we have an advanced option. I don't know you, so I can't tailor it to you specifically, though if you do want specifics, ask me in the comments below and I'll tell you. If you tell me what you like, I'll give you a specific recommendation. Or you can just spin the roulette wheel, pot luck, and a beginner would be someone who basically doesn't read any books, and I'll give you 1 recommendation, that might be good. Intermediate would be someone who reads a handful a year, and I'll give you 1 that's tailored towards that. Advanced would be, all right, I'm in my big boy reading pants, I read a book a week, maybe more, and I'll give you a recommendation for that. Thank you again for watching. Please hit the like and subscribe button, and see you soon. Thank you.